Of course, yesterday, the single woman donned the stage, and today another single woman is donning the stage. That is Dr. Mignonne Chan from Taiwan. Has extensive experience in academia, government, business, and media. She's founder and CEO of OutoftheBox Consultancy and sits in many boards, including member of the KMT Party Integrity Committee, board member of the National Policy Research Foundation, independent non-executive director of Standard Chartered Bank Taiwan, executive board member of Association of Emerging Market Studies, and Dr. Chan used to be the member of the parliament and sit as chair of the Judicial Committee. She has also served as the senior advisor to the President Ma at the National Security Council of ROC 2008 to 2010, Director General of International Secretariat of Pacific Economic Cooperation Council from 1999 to 2001, Director of Research at the International Secretariat of Asia Pacific Cooperation Council from 1996 to 1999, and the Chief of Staff of the APC Business Advisory Council. We have with us today the CEO of the OutoftheBox from Taiwan, founder CEO, Dr. Mignonne Chan, giving her presentation to us.
Your Excellency, Minister Deshpande, honorable dignitaries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor for me to be invited by Mr. Vidya Shankar of ISA. I feel greatly honored to dialogue with this audience. I changed my PowerPoint a little bit after a full-day discussion yesterday. I benefit a lot, and then by giving this presentation, I hope I make my little contribution to the topic of discussion. Today, my topic will be the case of Taiwan's innovation-driven high-tech development and India-Taiwan collaboration. Of course, the Taiwan model cannot be a one-size-fits-all model, given different historic, political, economic, social, and legal framework of various countries, but I thought it may contribute to our discussion here. I will cover very quickly a few items here. Number one is a catalyst for innovation-driven development, and then I will cover the government's role and the business challenge in the learning process. Finally, I'll touch upon very briefly India-Taiwan bilateral relations. For the past decades, I've been the forerunner of India-Taiwan relations, no matter whether when I served at the National Security Council or the Parliament or our bilateral business association. And I met some of you actually in ambassadors' residence in Taipei from time to time. Very glad to see you here as well. Now, first of all, catalyst for innovation-driven development. Based on my experience, I just sort of charted out a few items that I consider essential for innovation-driven development. Number one is our education and employment opportunity that nurture research talents and advanced technology. Secondly, we grow to learn the importance of protecting intellectual property rights, which will motivate long-lasting innovation for researchers. And then also, I think what is essential is for 98.6% of Taiwan's SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprise, to have sufficient venture capital for funding the startups. And government has credit guarantee for them in order to nurture their startup phase. Lastly, but not least, is the tripartite incubation platform for business, government, and academia, such as our ITRI, which is the Industrial Technology Research Institution. When they have the research done, they quickly link up with the business with commercial interest, and that makes the incubation fast from the research to commercialized products. Also, ITRI gives birth to our TSMC. Now, I will cover briefly the role of Taiwan's government in our policy formation. First of all, we value open trade and investment policy and promotion of innovation. And then we also frequently forge public-private partnership for incubation centers. During the Parliament congressional hearing, this is where the private sector have input in our policy formation process. Through the breakfast meeting, sometimes the government officials were too busy during the day. They have their own input-output feedback process that quickly build into our policy formulation. Also, capacity building for the firm's competitiveness. Usually, we are keenly aware of our development level in a given stage. Then we chart out the blueprint for step-by-step achievement toward that competition in the global market. Also, we built into regulatory reform with minimal intervention for firms' inspiration for markets, efficiency, and strategic partnership. Strategic partnership later I will cover briefly in my slides. Also, the government make possible the fulfillment of corporate social responsibility. Now, this is what we call smiling curve that proposed by Stan Shi of Acer Computer in the mid-70s. He reminded us that any high-tech development, if you focus on upstream R&D, you have much value add on your left-hand side. If we focus merely on assembly line manufacturing for the midstream manufacturing, then your value is in the lower end. Lastly, in the downstream marketing and sales, branding, this is where value add is. That is to say, if our high-tech segment is going to focus on the midstream manufacturing, the OEM, the overseas equipment manufacturing, then we have low value in the midstream. So it is toward the upstream R&D, the downstream branding, that we will have a higher value add. So therefore, our industrial restructuring is focusing slowly graduated from the OEM to the research R&D and the downstream branding. So the challenge for business, actually, what we call the 3 L's learning process: linkage, leverage, and learning. You heard often about CEO, CFO, but you probably hear less about CKO, Chief Knowledge Officer, that the business sector actually have to continue on-the-job training and learning. First of all, linkage, linked to the inward FDI, foreign direct investment activity at home, which provides a local firm with unique chance to enter into foreign production network and enhancement of their capability. Secondly, leverage, the extent to which foreign firms are willing to share their resources as well as the domestic absorptive capacity, defined as the ability for a firm to identify, accumulate, and exploit external knowledge. And lastly, but continuous learning process, this refers to the opportunity to access advanced technology and innovation, and thus catching up as fast as possible. Now, lastly, I would like to talk a little bit about closer India-Taiwan bilateral relations and an overview. This is my 5th trip in India, although the first trip to the crown jewel, Bangalore, the high-tech hub. India and Taiwan has established informal government cultural and trade centers since '95. And in the meantime, we have accomplished mutual recognition for higher education degrees and also avoidance of double taxation. And most recently, we have e-tourist visa. These all facilitate the ease of business travel across the border between these two countries. We also tap into the policy initiative and regional cooperation framework. India has come in of age to have Act East policy. And now our new president, Madame Tsai Ing-wen, has the new southbound policy. Also injecting the US $3 billion simply for industrial restructuring, trying to forge M&A, joint venture with other foreign companies. Also, we are very keen in joining the RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, the ASEAN Plus scheme, and India is very much an active participant. Also, India currently heads the new BRICS Development Bank, and we believe that a lot of project funding can come from there as well. For those of you who are interested in the bilateral trade and investment figures, I put forth the recent figures. For example, last year we have a total trade of 4.8 billion bilateral trade. And then for investment, I think there's more room for growth. We have last year the outflow to India from Taiwan. This is 72 million US dollars. So in terms of ranking, Taiwan's trade relations with key partners, the last one in the chart, the blue one, oops, sorry, put this on. The last one in chart in the blue dot is the Taiwan-India relations in trade, and then the next one is the investment. So there are actually quite a lot of room for growth for bilateral economic cooperations. Recently, we have a bilateral joint studies, and that points to promising sectors including logistics, automobile, ICT, food processing, distribution and retail, human resource development, construction, infrastructure development, textile, and shipbuilding. Regarding the current related topic of security-related market, basically we have the state-owned enterprise-dominated market orchestrated by our national Ministry of National Defense as well as Ministry of Economic Affairs. And then the production of defense equipment is concentrated basically on 4 organizations. That's Zhongshan Institute of Science and Technology, and then the Combined Service Forces, Aerospace Industrial Development Corporation, as well as our shipyard building corporation. Now, cybersecurity is one area that Taiwan is very keen on collaborating with our neighbors. Our networks are susceptible to cyber attack and often being used as a springboard to attack more secure networks. So actually, during Mars era in 2014, US-Taiwan has strong cooperation to sort of put the hackers under arrest. That affects 1.4 million of computers globally. Also, we are emphasizing the so-called network safety enhancement and joint cybercrime fighting. We have a prototype agreement with Japan. Taipei and Tokyo have signed agreements such as e-commerce, maritime search and rescue, and financial supervision. And these are the areas I believe that's relevant to this portfolio. Now, lastly, my company recently established after I graduated from the parliament of late, OutoftheBox. I think with a limited international space, our company has to think out of the box. So I was determined to help our SMEs to go out of Taiwan, join forces with emerging markets where the big potentials that we see. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.